Search Auto Trader.
The lifestyle double cab bakkie is big business in South Africa, and Jeep clearly wants in on the action. As you can see next to me, we have the Gladiator, the brand's own interpretation of an off-road bakkie. Now, upon first glance, you can see it's basically a Wrangler with a bakkie load bed at the back, but it also has a canvas roof and the doors can be removed, making it one of the most unique bakkies on the local market. And as such, instead of just taking it around Johannesburg and filming it in our studio, we decided to bring it to the Henops off-road trail just outside of Pretoria to put it through its paces. So we're out on the Henops trail now, and before we get to the rough stuff, let me tell you some things about this Gladiator, and it is an imposing product in pretty much every way possible. Powering the car is a 3.6 litre naturally aspirated V6 called the Pentastar that is paired with an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and the engine produces 209 kilowatts and 347 newton meters of torque. Claimed fuel consumption is 12.7 litres per 100 kilometers, which is scary because most of the time a claimed consumption is almost definitely higher in the real world, and I have seen that. Looking at the cluster as I speak to camera, it says I'm averaging 14 litres per 100 kilometers, which even with an 82 litre fuel tank makes this car quite thirsty and in need of refueling relatively often. But at 2.2 tons and at 1.259 million rand, I've got a feeling that the person who can afford a Gladiator won't worry too much about the price of fuel, and they won't worry too much about how much fuel the car uses. This is a toy. That is what comes to mind when I think of a Gladiator. I think this car is a toy. It's not something that's a person will daily drive. It's something that you use as a recreational item, something that fits into your lifestyle, whether you are towing a camping trailer or taking motocross bikes or doing anything lifestyle oriented that requires a degree of off-roading. This is really the car for you. An impressive aspect of the Gladiator, and I suppose the latest generation Wrangler models too, is the interior. There's a really nice finish inside here. The materials are reasonably plush for an off-road vehicle. You can wash the interior. It is waterproof because after all, this is a vehicle that's roof and doors can come off, so it has to be waterproof. It's also got the brand's 8.3-inch Uconnect infotainment system, which is honestly one of the better systems I've used. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and a variety of applications that just make your life a little bit easier. Now, at the aforementioned list price of over 1.2 million rand, you do expect quite a bit of creature comforts for your money, and the car doesn't disappoint. You get things like a heated steering wheel, heated seats, you get adaptive cruise control, and a variety of added features that you wouldn't necessarily expect from what some might consider a pure off-road vehicle. So it's nice to see that there has been effort put into the car in that regard. It really does show that bakkies in general have become less utilitarian and more of a lifestyle accessory. If you drive a car like this, it says something about you as a person, that you need the utility of a bakkie, but you also want the capability of a Jeep, and you also probably want something that not many people in the country are going to have, and you want that sort of exclusivity that is associated with a convertible off-road bakkie. So being a bakkie, Practicality needs to be high up on the list for priorities that Jeep had when they designed the car. And from an interior perspective, this is very much a Wrangler. In my opinion, not the most comfortable seats in the business, but reasonably nice. And the footwell is a bit cramped too. Even as a short person, I find the footwell to be intrusive. When we look at the rear occupant space, I have ample headroom, but again, I'm potentially not the best judge of that. There's also quite a handy storage area. If you lift up the rear seats, underneath them you can fold them up and you can place various items inside this little storage area, especially when you're going overlanding or if you're on holiday and the doors are off and you don't want people to see stuff. You can put it there under those seats. It's very, very handy. Behind my driver's seat, that rear passenger seat, if you fold that forward, there is a Jeep branded Bluetooth speaker that you can press a button that clips out, and you can take that with you to the beach or wherever you are in the Gladiator. So you can tell that the brand has really thought about everything lifestyle. That's, like I mentioned earlier, it is a lifestyle product, and the word toy comes to mind when I think of it. Something that you will use to transport the motocross bikes. And I mention that because in the rear load bin there are actually marks, indentations that look like motocross bike tires. So Jeep are clearly showing you where to put your two motocross bikes on the back of the Gladiator. Although it must be said, the rear tailgate has to be folded down in order to accommodate two average sized motocross bikes. You cannot close the load bin and fit two motorbikes in there. It is not big enough for that. Our press car is also fitted with a Mopar accessory. It is a tonneau cover that folds up, and that is a very nice feature. It secures your items quite nicely. You can only access it by opening the tailgate and then pulling a quick release to fold it. So it is a very practical car in many ways. I just wish I had a little bit more space up here. Now I know we're doing off-roading today, but the Gladiator is going to spend a lot of its time on the road, and it is important to consider how well this car drives on the road. Now, because it has got a Fox suspension and it is a coil system all round, all four corners feature coils instead of leaf springs like on a traditional bakkie, it means that this car has quite a nice ride quality in relation to other bakkies. The unfortunate side of it is that because it's got coils at the rear, it cannot tow as much, and it also cannot carry all that much, with around 600 kilograms of payload and 2.7 tons of towing capacity, which I think is going to be problematic because the car only produces, well, less than 350 newton meters of torque, and at the same time that torque is only produced at 4,100 RPM. So if you're really trying to explore the limits of what this thing can tow, you're going to definitely see your fuel bill skyrocket, and that is something that I noticed out on the road. Any sort of flex of your right foot results in quite a high fuel consumption bill. And in terms of refinement, I've also found that despite there being quite a lot of wind intrusion as a result of this canvas roof above me, the car is reasonably refined on road for something that is as capable as this thing is off-road. So it has impressed me in that regard, but I suppose the real test of any Jeep is to take it through some off-road obstacles, and it looks like we've just arrived at some. So on the left-hand side of the Gladiator, there's a sticker that says Rubicon, and there's also a badge that says Trail Rated. Now that means that not this particular car, but a car just like this has tackled the infamous Rubicon Trail in the Sierra Nevada desert. It's a 22-mile loop, and it is considered the toughest off-road challenge for a vehicle in America. So we'll have to see if the car's got what it takes to take on Henops. I'm sure it does, but it is an impressive feat for a vehicle to make it through that, especially in standard production, guys. And it has all of the off-road goodies to make sure that you can tackle even the most rough terrain. For instance, we've got front and rear locking differentials. We've also got a sway bar, front sway bar, that can be detached to allow for more wheel articulation when you are attempting to climb over rocks and you need more wheel articulation to climb over things. And of course we've got off-road modes and various applications in the car called off-road pages that allow you to track what you are doing while going off-road. There's also a very high resolution off-road camera, which is super handy when you you come out on these trails, you can actually see what's happening in front of you, especially with a car that is as big as this one is. Imposing is a word I would use to describe the Gladiator styling and its size. This thing is over 5.5 meters long. It just simply doesn't fit anywhere. It doesn't fit into my parking lot at the office. It doesn't fit into my parking lot at home. It is just a gigantic car. I mean, at 5.5 meters long, it's 3 of me. Actually, it's more than 3 of me. And that brings me to one of the Achilles heels of the Gladiator, and that is in its breakover angle. While its departure and approach angles are great when heading off-road, that breakover angle is not as good as it should be because the car is so long. So there is a sacrifice in that area. We just came off of a trail now where there was quite a steep section with some rocks where I had to really go around some of the obstacles because I was worried, even though the car's got extensive underbody protection, I was worried that I was going to damage something, and that comes back down to that breakover angle. But in terms of off-road performance, this car is a monster. These 3-ply BF Goodrich tires combined with the front and rear locking differentials and the various other off-road goodies make this one of the most capable off-road bakkies I've ever driven in my life. So here we are at the top of the infamous rocky climb at the Henops 4x4 trail. My time with the Jeep Gladiator has come to an end. What are my takeaways? Well, despite the fact that I was reasonably disappointed with the car on road, just in terms of some of the wind noise and how thirsty the engine was, I have to say, when you bring the car here, it really feels like it's in its natural environment. Some of the compromises that have been made for this vehicle to be as good as it is off-road are totally acceptable on the road once you have actually come to a 4x4 trail like this. The next question, of course, with a brand like Jeep is reliability. Now, this Pentastar V6 in this car has proven to be relatively reliable, but the brand itself does have a reputation for having issues. So that's something I would certainly look out for. But at 1.259 million Rand with a 5-year maintenance plan, it certainly isn't cheap. And being a convertible off-road ready bakkie, its market appeal might be a bit limited, but there's certainly no mistaking the fact that it's one of the best lifestyle bakkies that you can currently buy in South Africa. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to search Auto Trader the next time you're looking to buy or sell your car. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment letting us know what you'd like us to test next. Cheers.
Search Auto Trader.